Hi, I'm Amber Anderson. I help leaders learn how to maximize their impact in a way that is authentic, joyful, and expansive through content, coaching, and community. Today, I want to talk about specific feedback. First, I will say that it's really important. I've been teaching about the importance of timely and specific feedback for over 20 years, and it is not necessary for you to make significant improvements in your performance as a leader. While I'm a huge believer in giving timely and specific feedback, I recently had a realization that I may be doing a disservice to you and all the leaders that have learned from me, really, over the years by leaning so heavily on this perspective. Here's what happened. I was coaching a client who had heard me sing the praises of timely and specific feedback many times, so I wasn't at all surprised when she shared her frustrations with me about the lack of specificity in the feedback she'd recently received from her own boss. She was given feedback that people didn't enjoy working with her on a particular project because she was often defensive and argumentative. The problem, though, was that she was using the lack of detail as a reason to stay stuck. She believed she could not change her behavior because she didn't know exactly what about her behavior was being seen as being defensive and argumentative when she interacted with her colleagues. And while I still believe that getting specific feedback is best, especially when it's corrective feedback, I do not believe it's required for behavior change to take place. If we're really honest with ourselves, we know when we're not showing up as our best selves. At least any leader who would be taking the time to watch this video definitely knows the difference. Now, you might not be hyper aware of it in the moment, but I am willing to bet good money that you almost immediately know, or at least feel, that you could have said or done something differently after an interaction where you were feeling some sort of disruptive feeling like frustration or annoyance. So, in the situation with my client, she was told that people perceive her as being defensive during meetings, but she was given no specific examples. Her instinct, as she was feeling defensive, was to shut down and dismiss the feedback altogether because it wasn't specific. She stated that she couldn't possibly change or improve without having more details about who had said what about her. Again, I highly value specific feedback, and I think most experienced leaders have a level of awareness that makes it possible for us to change our behavior based on our own reflection and evaluation. We do not need to depend on others to tell us exactly what needs to change. We can take personal accountability to take feedback like people don't want to work with you because you're being defensive and explore it. If you're behaving in a way that makes people think you're being defensive, it's because you're feeling defensive. You know when you feel defensive. And if you don't, that's the first thing that you should work on. Being able to recognize and name your emotions will make you a much better leader, even if you stop there. At first, this might happen after the fact, like I mentioned before, but the goal is to get better and better at recognizing these disruptive feelings in the moment so you can interrupt the pattern and intentionally shift your thoughts and feelings right then and there. That way, you don't quote unquote show up as defensive in the moment. If you consciously work to raise your awareness of how you're feeling when you engage with others, it will make changing how you show up so much easier. And notice that there is no specific feedback in the mix here. You have agency. Don't use the lack of specific feedback as an excuse to not make changes that, if you really wanted to make them, you totally could. You do not need anyone else to do this work. What's more, you can get specific feedback for yourself. Use the personal accountability model to reflect and capture it. I promise that building this skill to capture your own personal feedback on your performance will create much better results than anything that anyone else could say or do for you. So here's my challenge for you. Pick one meeting or conversation every single day and do this exercise. It would be most helpful and relevant to this particular topic if you apply it to a situation where you think you could have done something better, meaning you could have said or done something that would have resulted in creating a better experience for yourself or the others involved in the situation. Spend just a few minutes reflecting on the situation and use the personal accountability model to collect those details. This is you gathering your own feedback on your own performance. So for the circumstance, what was the circumstance? Remember to keep it factual here. What was your thought about the circumstance? How did that thought make you feel? When you were feeling that way, what did you do? What did you not do? How did you respond? How did you react? And then what's the direct effect of the above actions? Once you've collected all this information using the model, you have your feedback. You gave yourself timely and specific feedback immediately following the meeting or the conversation. So now you get to decide what to do about it. How do you want to show up next time? How do you need to feel to show up that way? What do you need to be thinking in that moment to feel that way? You get to decide on purpose how to make adjustments to do something differently and better next time. So commit to making the necessary adjustments and see how it goes. This is going to take some practice and some patience, but I promise it's very likely that nobody knows you as well as you know yourself. So really the most effective way to improve your performance based on feedback is to rely on yourself to gather your own feedback. Now, I will say this does not apply to you if you don't actually want to make changes, but I am confident if you are still watching this video, this process absolutely will work for you because you obviously care deeply about being an effective and impactful leader. But even with that, we all have our blind spots. So no matter how open and curious we are, sometimes we truly cannot see all the details clearly. This is sometimes conscious, sometimes not. And this is why I think everyone should have a coach. Yes, I'm biased. But truly, having someone to explore your brain with you is like having someone in there shining a spotlight in those dark corners of your mind where you're just consciously unwilling to look. We find the thoughts and beliefs that are preventing you from leading at the highest level. We look at it like it's a ball of yarn and we just start picking at those strings one at a time until that ball loosens up and eventually just falls apart. And if you're working with me, in addition to the mindset work and finding those self-limiting beliefs, we are consciously working to build your resilience, grace, and grit through nervous system work so that every day the hard stuff about leadership feels just a little bit less hard. For help with this important work, message me anytime to schedule a discovery call so we can talk about working together in a one-on-one coaching partnership. And with that, thank you for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I will see you next week.